Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling Review Series for the 8th of January 1983. Been a while since we've done one of these. Got over 1,200 audios available for your listening pleasure. Rotundo and Timms is joined in progress. Rotundo with an atomic drop, among other things. Of course, Rotundo is your television champion at the time and coming up pretty well. Ken Timms is a guy who really is a great talent but underrated. Cranks down on Rotundo with the front face lock, among other things. Rotundo doesn't really seem to want to back up from him too much. Drives into kind of the key lock and the ultimate the elbows and that, jumping onto the wrist along the way and kind of getting things going in his general direction. Russian leg sweep by Timms, trying to get the television champion down and kind of keep him there. Doesn't necessarily happen. Airplane spin by by Mike Rotundo gets him a victory. We go to Bob Caudle. Bob Caudle then introduces the next match into Red Dog Lane, which is a guy that I don't really know a bunch about. Never even heard of him before. Starting this, Valentine and Funk Jr. versus Orton, Slater, and Jerry Briscoe. Again, new gimmicks here. Meanwhile, before that match begins, though, we get kind of a promo from Slaughter and Kernodle. They're talking kind of about some of the challenges that they're having, also the destruction of personal property and clothing of Kernodle, and kind of is there. Six-man tag, just there to fill time. Much like modern day wrestling, I think. Dory Funk being in a squash match just doesn't make sense after being NWA champion, and it's here. Greg Valentine also back and forth as U.S. champion during the time, and just other basic thing. Valentine and Briscoe squaring off is a rarity. Briscoe, of course, holding on to the NWA champion previously and the championship previously, as well as lighting things up with Dory Briscoe renewing their 70s feud. Briscoe, obviously a collegiate style wrestler, as is Funk. Orton coming in looking pretty smooth. Orton as a babyface does strike me as a bit odd. Dick Slater babyface here, but obviously during this kind of turning his back on his adversaries along the way. Bob Orton and Greg Valentine tying up a little bit in the match, just a little surprising as well. Orton catches the leg of Valentine and actually goes into an elbow. Orton's offense, super smooth, super just organized, and I wouldn't even say aggressive, it's just there, but no wasted motion from Bob Orton Jr. A lot of guys could learn a great deal from Bob Orton Jr. in a number of ways, and kind of moving forward in that way and sort of being where it is. Tag off and kind of taking off on the overhead by Orton. Orton again using a more traditional, I wouldn't say necessarily collegiate style, maybe catch style would be a better terminology as we go through the realm here. Dick Slater again coming into a heel turn, attacking Orton, dropping the knee across Orton's chest post-match, and obviously everybody is a bit overwhelmed. The babyface is caught off guard as well, and needless to say, Orton aligning with the heels in the run is just an interesting deal. The House of Humperdinck continues to be promoted. Humperdinck going off with Piper, also going off with the Power of the One Man Gang, producing great satisfaction with Greg Valentine as well is Humperdinck. So Humperdinck basically, at least through the beginning of 83 and through the midpoint of 83, I think I'm up to August in my watching at this point, really is a guy who should be regarded as a major guy. We talk about Piper and Valentine being the U.S. champion, Mid-Atlantic champion, and various other both regional and regular, NWA full-on championships here. We go back to another match in the run. Youngblood coming back against Rick Harris, and of course Rick Harris goes on to be Black Bart. Youngblood coming back after several months on the shelf at the hands of Slaughter and Cornoodle takes the headlock takeover and tries to keep things going there. We have not seen him in tag match yet, I don't think, returning, but it's here. He snaps the man over, drops the leg, drops the knee, goes at him pretty aggressively, and continues to be in a positional situation. Harris then going pretty aggressively towards continuing his assertion that he is one of the best in the area and manages to do as much as he can. And as you can hear, my computer kicks on for another episode with Piper and commentary just for 2 seconds there. Anyway, we kind of do see a takeover by Youngblood, manages to take the man out and over, and Harris, who has not done anything more than enhancement talent work predominantly, and eventually goes down to the Mid-Atlantic and does quite well. But Youngblood comes back, punch kick, very basic stuff, and manages to do everything he possibly can. We see Youngblood and Steamboat talking about wanting to get even with Cornoodle and Slaughter. That continues to be a program through Starrcade in November, so they almost draw a year out of that program, if not more than a year, going forward. Which, I mean, I wouldn't put any company in a place where they could do a year's program now. Cornoodle and Johnny Weaver is up next here. Basic maneuvers. Weaver, near retirement, almost going into broadcasting within the next couple of months. Weaver locks on things like a spinning toe hold, although Cornoodle kind of works over the ankle and leg of his adversary as well. They kind of brawl in the corner a little more than you'd see Cornoodle generally brawl, but Weaver at this point, kind of doing a more hit and move approach. Also, the sleeper hold being supposedly taught to Steamboat and Youngblood for the benefit of Cornoodle. Cornoodle out there and trying to lay down extra punishment on Weaver. Eventually, there is a victory for Weaver as we go forward. The tear up of the jacket of Don Cornoodle has Sergeant Slaughter intensely angered, and he kind of talks about who snuck into the locker room. Jack Briscoe promises to get rid of the House of Humperdinck and the various people that Humperdinck is bringing into his stable in order to wreak havoc on the area. Tommy Gilbert and Ben Alexander is your, I believe, closing match of the day. Tommy Gilbert, of course, the father of Doug and Eddie Gilbert. Tommy Gilbert, known more for traditional style mat wrestling, and also known a bit more for kind of bringing up his sons Eddie and Doug Gilbert in the Memphis style deal. Alexander takes a couple of shots, tries to crank his man over and get some headlock takeovers, basic maneuvers. Nothing necessarily worth writing home about, if we're completely honest. But cinching up on the leg, gets the inside step over, and again kind of does. Gilbert manages a bridging toe hold. Alexander comes up and comes at him with some pretty aggressive stuff, punch kick type maneuvers. And again, we see Humperdinck closing the program, talking about the rule of the House of Humperdinck. And Dick Slater cuts a very intense promo, worth checking out. Slater, not a guy that I'm terribly familiar with outside of his short WWF run and the various WCW short-term runs he had, but needless to say, he looks good here in this area. The U.S. Champion Valentine also looking very, very good here, and we kind of go forward in that direction in any event. We will close for this particular episode. We'll be back with more right after this.